So it's 7 o'clock on a Monday evening, and this evening it's just me. Notice just me, not something I used to say, which was only me, but that's a story, another story. So, yes, so hello and welcome. And it's just me this evening because my uh, fellow agony aunt is on holiday. So she's somewhere in Wales, I think. I think it's Wales. I hope I got that right. And I decided I'd go solo, fly solo. And I decided that a few days ago. So I set it all up and sent out messages and everything. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to admit that between 5 and 6 p.m. this evening, um, I had all sorts of reasons, justifications as to why I shouldn't do it. So my mind was coming up with all sorts of quite valid reasons, actually, because I've had a bit of a day where I've been a bit pushed for time and had some unexpected horse chores to sort out. So I could have easily um, fallen back on those and gone, oh, I'm going to postpone. But something I've learned over the last few years is not to believe my thoughts. And that sometimes, even if you're not feeling it, you can kind of ignore that too, because, it's just the feelings are coming from your thinking about what your mind is doing because you're feeling a bit, I don't know, insecure, a bit nervous, whatever. And yeah, so I think it was around 5:30. I was like, I'll just wait till Louise comes back. But anyway, I didn't. I'm here. It's 7 o'clock, and I want to talk about why I coach. That's what I called this um because people ask me that. I think people ask me because I have kind of moved from my normal horsemanship coaching into uh, life coaching and coaching people um, who don't have horses. Uh, Although the horses continue to be very much in my world and very much part of my learning. They're the most amazing teachers. So they're still very much there. But yeah, and people ask me, what drew you to coaching and what keeps you doing it now? Because, I'm at an age where I could be retired. Um, and yeah, and I was thinking about that question. So I thought I would reflect on it a little bit and share what came up for me. And I have made some notes because with nobody to bounce off, I might go off on a tangent because I'm pretty good at that. So So why do I coach? The honest reason that I coach is because because coaching made such a difference to me. Um, and when I came across this approach that I coach from, the Inside Out understanding, or the three principles understanding, when I came across this, I experienced such an impactful transformation that really did change my life. And and I guess I just wanted to share it. I wanted other people to know that kind of you don't have to suffer like we do. Um, And really, I suppose I thought of myself as a coach, actually. I mean, I was a coach, but I was a horsemanship coach. So I was already in that arena of wanting to help people and help horses. In fact, honestly, it was, back years ago when I first got into horsemanship, natural horsemanship coaching, it was very much about helping horses and changing the world for horses and humans in brackets, kind of. And because that was the beginning of this journey, really, and because I realized during that um, journey that being able to help horses was actually about becoming more aware of who I was being, how I was showing up, then I started to move into being interested in helping people as much as or even more than horses sometimes. So so I was in that arena and I like helping people, I guess. Um, but what changed was in those days I was more of a fix it sort of person. So I would try and help people by coming up with solutions to their problems or their problems with their horses most of the time and this sort of thing. And it was very much about new tools and new strategies and new understanding. Um, but I was a fixer. I enjoyed solving puzzles. Um, and I got a kick out of it, it's good for the ego when you come up with a solution and for someone. And so, but what has changed? What drew me to do what I'm doing now is very simply seeing that seeing the health in other people, seeing the well-being and the wisdom and the um and the health in someone who hasn't seen that for themselves, because that's what's happened. That is what happened for me. Instead of seeing myself as someone who was broken, really, because I did live for many, many years thinking there was basically something wrong with me. And although I was helping other people, in the background, behind the scenes, things were not good for me. It was very much a roller coaster. There was some amazing times and there was some incredibly low times. And in the low times, I was uh, really not functioning. And I really believed that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. So even when I got better and I was kind of firing on all cylinders, I would be waiting for something to break, something to, a wheel to come off. Because that's who I thought I was. And I also thought that's why I hadn't, achieved the things I thought I should have achieved as I got older and so on. But when you find out, when I found out that that wasn't true, that that wasn't really who I was or what I was, it changed everything. And when you experience something like that, or when I experienced something like that, I wanted to share it. I wanted the whole world to know. Um, in fact, I couldn't understand why I hadn't seen what I'd seen earlier, why I didn't know about it, and why it wasn't like being taught everywhere. So I almost feel like I didn't have a choice, really. I couldn't, I guess it's I remember Pat Pirelli, my horsemanship mentor, used to talk about being a shareaholic. You know, you don't want to keep the good news to yourself. and and it's not about having it all figured out. It's not that. But it's feeling more secure that I have everything I need to figure things out is not the best way, but to navigate whatever life brings. And that's how things have been for the last few years. So there is nothing like um, seeing that in somebody else and learning how to point to that so that that person starts to believe in themselves. Actually, belief is that reminds me of a course I did a year ago or so, where we talked about belief being contagious. And um, you know, when somebody believes in you, it does kind of spread, doesn't it? You know? I mean, I know that's how I feel about that, but I think if you can if you can point that out to somebody, if you can genuinely, honestly see something in somebody else and believe in them, they start to believe in themselves as well. Um, and it's much more than just being encouraging or uh, I don't know. I'm not even sure how to put it into words, but it is more than just words. It's actually you feel it. It's something that is you feel in the connection with somebody else. And you can feel it when they start to feel it too, you know, when the pressure drops off someone's face and they've seen something new about a situation. And you can kind of point them back to themselves and to because it's never I don't fix people anymore, you know, because nobody needs fixing. And just having that certainty in that is I think what comes through. So I'm probably going on too much here, but hopefully I've explained why I coach and why it's important to me. And I think what's interesting too is that it isn't that what I've just been talking about. I don't think it's actually what people expect from coaching because when I um, used to think about coaching, I used to think about being someone, you know, who was offering solutions and advice. Um, you know, I expected somebody to give me advice and help me figure things out and, you know, hand me strategies and give me tools to work with. Um, and also to keep me accountable. And of course, that is a form of coaching, and I'm not knocking it. Okay, it's not. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. And actually, in fact, especially the accountability coaching can be really useful. I found that really useful for me, partly because you know I tend to go off track a little bit and I get distracted, and so there's certainly a place for that, but that's not really the sort of coaching that I'm doing or what I'm talking about. Um, so what do I do? What do I do? That's really good. I think coaching or what I'm doing is first of all, I'm listening. And that's pretty huge. And there's lots of stuff out there about listening, active listening, deep listening, I don't know, mirroring listening, well, listening. But learning to listen to somebody with nothing on your mind. So I'm holding the space for somebody and listening with no agenda, no, I've heard this before running through my head, no judgment, no fixing again, because that's something. So really just listening. And that is it's a skill. It is a skill. And it's not about doing very much. It's about letting, because you can't stop when you're listening to somebody. It isn't that you can stop things coming into your mind. Questions, thoughts, things do come in. And it's really just letting them go. Just letting them come in and pass out, clouds across the sky, and just holding space for that person. And I've had some really, really, really incredible experiences with people I've been working with who have been able to express themselves in such a way that they access their own wisdom, to the point where I've had been listening to someone and a question has floated into my mind and I've let it float out again the other side. And a few minutes later, that person has brought that question up themselves and answered it themselves. And I could probably just talk about listening actually for this whole session, but really what I want to just make absolutely clear is that it is simply just holding space for that person and listening. And sometimes that involves silence, not feeling that you have to fill a silence. Took me a while to learn that. But listening to somebody and looking past the stories, looking past the stories they've carried for years about themselves, about the self-criticism, and I guess when you can sit with someone completely free and with no judgment, that allows the other person to speak some stuff out, to get some stuff out, and then to start seeing beyond it themselves. It kind of slows everything down too, I think. I think that's really important because people start to see that what holds them back or gets in their way isn't their circumstances or the situation they find themselves in or the people that they are, the relationships they have. They start to see what is really going on, what is really true, and also their own self-judgment. Very often the person, we're hardest upon, the person we judge the most is ourselves. And that often plays out because we project it out onto other people. So what I actually do is not very much. That's funny because, I talk about that with the horses, doing nothing. Doing nothing with a horse is huge because nothing means nothing with a horse. Holding space, just being with a horse, showing up and being with a horse, what we would call, or what I would call, undemanding time is sometimes the biggest gift you can give someone. You give them your attention. Now my computer wants to do thumbs up. You give them you give them your time, you give them your attention, and you let them be with you. So just showing up and being there for somebody is really huge. I'm just looking my notes. What's really interesting about the coaching that I'm talking about is nearly every time I work with somebody, I learn something new about myself or about a situation, or I see something new. And I think of my coaching as kind of an exploration. And I'm not the expert. I'm just kind of the guide, if you like. And part of what I do in my programs is educational. There is a teaching element to it. I don't want you to think that I just sit there with a smile on my face, doing nothing. So, um, particularly in the beginning when I work with someone, I will um, make an effort to explain to them my understanding of how we work psychologically. So I will talk about how the mind works. I will talk about the relationship between thoughts and feelings. I will talk about systems. I will talk about how our psychological system is a system in the same way that we have other systems in our body. We have a respiratory system, a digestive system. Our heart pumps blood around our body. We have a what's it called? Cardiovascular system. I don't know all the systems in our body. I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but what I do see is that our mind is also a system, and it works the same for everybody. It is predictable and universal. And when you start to get an understanding of that, for me, what it helped me do was kind of step back a little bit. And instead of seeing, this is going to sound a bit weird, but instead of seeing my mind as me, I saw that it was a system within me, that I was more than my mind. I'm more than my thinking. Which kind of brings me to another element of the coaching, to the question, why do I coach? Because this approach to coaching has a spiritual element to it. Because within the system that I'm talking about of how our personal mind is working, I also believe and talk about that we are part of an intelligence system, a divine, universal intelligence that everything is made of. And again, I'm not a scientist, but the odd bits of science that I do read talk about that too. You know, that we are all basically made of the same stardust. We're all made of the same energy. And that spiritual element, our soul, if you like, our spirit, our human spirit, is part of that. And again, from a personal point of view, that has really helped me. It's helped me deal with, you know, all the crap that gets thrown at us through our lives. It's helps me deal with the harshness of life. You know, loss and grief and sadness. And because a few years ago I was scared of, you know, what comes after. of I was scared of loss. I had experienced a lot of it, but and come through it, but not really seen that, not seen that I'd come through it. So from a personal point of view, I feel so much more what's the word? Kind of, I can't think of the word really. Just more content. I'm not scared. I'm curious. And that is my favorite word in coaching. That's because I was always, my gran used to say I was dead nosy, you know. but but curiosity, and it's something in horses too that we value, you know. When a horse is curious, it means that they're engaging and feeling confident and checking things out. So curiosity is a huge it's one of my favorite words, and I love the fact that now when things get difficult, when life gets difficult, when life chucks you a curveball and everything else, and or when I'm just feeling you know, not a bit like I was at 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this. I don't like talking to camera, etc. When I was there, I did get myself out of it by that curiosity of, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? My mind's doing stuff. It's trying to keep me, it's trying to keep me safe. It's trying to keep me from, you know, feeling nerves and all the rest of it. So that curiosity is something I really value, and it's something I encourage the people I work with to notice and you know, get curious. We're explorers. And yeah, so coaching with me is like, sounds a bit of a cliche, but it's a journey. It's an exploration into who you really are, what you're really made of, and it's magic. You know, it opens you up to potential and possibility. And you know what else? When you start to understand how things work and what's really going on, the ripple is just wonderful. You know, I often work with mostly women, but not always, not only women, mostly. Um, And we talk a lot about relationships. And what I love about the work I do is that when somebody sees something new, the impact is it doesn't just sit with that person, it ripples out to the rest of the family or in work or whatever. And it's so like I've worked with people who come back and tell me that, you know, the relationship with their husband or their kids has suddenly become easier. They find it easier to communicate. They're not taking things so personally anymore. And when you change, when one person changes within a family or within a group of people, that ripples out and affects everybody else. So that's pretty cool. So another reason why I coach. How long have I been talking? I've been talking half an hour, and there was me at 5 o'clock thinking, I won't be able to do this. So, and I've got pages of notes here, but I'm not going to go up anymore because I'll start repeating myself. So, yeah, I think I've told you why I coach. So anyone who is watching this on replay, um, if you have any questions or want to find out more about what working with me would be like, then the next best thing, once you've listened to this, is to book a session and let's have a conversation. Because that's the best way I know to see if what I can share with you and what I can explore with you will make a difference in your life too. And, you know, ripple out. Because that's really the beauty of all this. We have a lovely saying, you know, all boats rise with the tide. I think I said that in our last conversation. Okay, so my chair is squeaky. I'm going to wrap this up. Um, yeah, I hope all of what I've said creates some curiosity, and I really look forward to hearing back from anybody. And I'm really looking forward to Louise coming back in a fortnight. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. So again, if you have any suggestions, please send those through as well. And this replay is going to be up in the classroom. Okay, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.